Go ahead, David.
Okay, so I want to do a demo of. I want to do a demo of getting all the way down to the Elasticsearch Fluent file beat stuff that Adrien and I've been working on the last couple of days. But if I can't get all the way there, I do want to show all the way fully local DevOps, no GKE, no external things involved, right? So I've prepared some instructions that I vetted with Kirsty. Thank you very much for being a guinea pig, Kirsty. So I have a demo, a repo, D Wilkins Rails NoDB that I developed, that I used for auto DevOps before I started down this road. But I've got the instructions of getting Minikube to do all of this stuff for you with the container registry running locally, as well as all the auto DevOps things. I've gotten us down to this point right here where start Minikube, because as you might expect, nobody wants to sit and wait for a GDK install to go. And Minikube is also that. So I started Minikube, and I gave it some extra memory because I think I'm going to need it for, I hope I'm going to need it for the Elasticsearch FileBeat stuff, and some extra disk. So that's running, fired up and going. Now, one of the problems with Kubernetes is that there's a 127.0.0.1 in all of the containers, and they're all different. None of them can reach your box, right? So we have to take over the. I've taken over the bridge IP address that Minikube creates. So if we say ifconfig, there's a bridge IP address that he always creates. So I'm making all my services listen on that IP address, because when it's referenced from the from a Kubernetes container, it'll come all the way out to the local box, and that's where the registry generally runs. So if we start looking at these steps, I've gotten us down to the start here. So we need to set our host. Can I hit that? And we need to turn on registry enabled. And do a GDK reconfigure. So that's going to set up some GitLab YMLs and the registry and a config file in the registry. It's going to enable the, when the proc file fires up, it'll know to start the registry. The next thing we're going to do, as soon as the GDK reconfigure is done, we're going to edit some other properties over in GitLab YML to set them up the way they need to be for to like I said, to take over this bridge IP address so that our Kubernetes containers can find our registry. So we've got that. So let's go edit the GitLab config GitLab.yml file. So here, this is set to 000, just like we told it in the host, but we don't want that. And now I'm going to change this port to 5443 because it needs to be SSL. It needs to have it needs to be TLS, because of it's not considered, it's not local to the Kubernetes containers that are going to access it. So it's going to have a this key is going to have to be a self-signed, trusted key. So if we look at that key, shows that I've told it that this key has got some, that this key is valid for 64.1, 40.1, and 99.1. When you use VirtualBox, you take over this 99.1 address. So I've kind of I've signed these keys so that they're valid for several IP addresses. So the next step we're going through, we're going to edit the registry config.yml, and we're going to stick this thing in there. So it's put in this Docker thing. I'm not really sure. So we take that, change it, and then we're going to make some changes to the nginx config. Like I said, the registry normally runs as a regular HTTP with no TLS, and that's great because the Docker registry is cool with a insecure registry running on 127, our local host, but it's not, once it doesn't look like localhost, it starts to have a few problems. So, so I'm going to add a proxy in the nginx configuration to proxy this as TLS. So, I know what these changes have to be. So we're going to call this one registry, and we're going to set to 000 so that it listens on all the ports. Or and there may be some errors in some of this, but I believe all of this to work. So now the server is easy enough to change it by just copying this, pasting it in, changing this part to our 64.1 address. (5.4.4.3), and down here we tell it to proxy pass this to our server above this GitLab registry. So we save that. So now we've gotten these parts done. Now we got to uncomment our nginx line in the proc file that was kindly generated for us by GDK. So now it's go time. So we GDK run this. And the next thing we're going to do is log in. So not up yet. There was something the other day that there was a problem with. I had to upgrade my node because node was taking tons of memory, thanks to the folks that reported the problem and the solution over in the is this known channel. Well, you can do it. Impatience is a problem of mine. Here we are. Don't click forgot your password. Okay. So we're in. We have to make a few changes now that we're into the system. Let's go to the application settings network because we're going to need to enable local outbound requests here. Turn that, save it. So we're good. Next thing we want to do is go add ourselves a cluster. So, and I've been adding these on the instance because it's nice for that. We'll go ask our Minikube over here what his IP address is. It's 36. So, and we want to go ahead and fire up the dashboard too. We need some more stuff. So, our secret information here to be able to connect the cluster. So let's grab this. The API URL, I've typed this a bunch of times, so it's saved in my browser history. 36, certificate there. The service token, oh wait. Is here. Now, before we click save on this, I have to uncheck this, but we have to do that special RBAC turn off kube control command. It's listed in some of our other documentation. So this thing is in my way. Let me see if I can hide this. Hide floating media control. Great. Added the permissive binding thing. So we're ready to add our cluster. So now, so we have a cluster. Go ahead and helm install tiller. We're going to install Prometheus and GitLab runner. Now, one thing about installing GitLab runner, that thing we changed over in the GitLab config gitlab.yml file where it says, you know, server, and instead we changed it from 000 to 192.168.64.1. When runner installs, that's the address that he considers valid for the the GitLab instance. So when runner registers, that's the address that he considers valid. So if you didn't get that right, the runner's going to have a problem connecting back to the GitLab instance. So over to so now in our instructions here, we turn that off, and oh, let's add our base domain. So the base domain for this cluster will be, remember it was 64.36, right? So that we can do auto DevOps later. So now, so we've got that. Look at our instructions. Oh, that's our starting to see our graphs here. Look at our cluster, and so now this project that I've been using as my steps here is the one is actually the one we want to import. So here, along with HTTPS. Now let's add a new project. Easy enough. Paste that in. So this is just a Rails project. It doesn't do any DB, and it doesn't do anything particularly well. It just has a welcome controller, but it does have the Prometheus gem mmap gem in it so that we can get metrics from it. Oh, nice. Awesome. First time this has happened to me. Let's see. Let's see if we got our project. Well, it imported it. So probably need to, that's the first time that's happened. So I need to figure out what the problem is there. So we've got this project. There's one other thing. So I need to set my Rails secrets as a CI environment variable. So let me copy this. Now that in my settings, variables, so save that. I think we're ready for some CI/CD. So let's run the pipeline. Since this is not an ultimate or whatever, my staging stage won't show up, but the build stage is going now. Look at our Kubernetes dashboard. All namespaces, the pods. So we got a runner firing up here to do his work. Now, if we hadn't done all of that localhost certificate signing and trusting to for the certificate, we would not get to this point because there would be problems. The other special sauce that is here, there's a GitLab CI, and this is, we do Docker and Docker to pull images and build images within the Kubernetes environment, and we have to tell it that our 64.1 is a insecure registry, because for some reason the trusting of that certificate doesn't make it all the way down into Kubernetes, into Docker, and the second level of Docker. But this will get that solved for us without having to do any special containers or anything. So we see our build is going over here. Nokogiri takes a little while. Now, I will say that I've attempted to run this through without flaw several times, starting yesterday afternoon and ending about 5 minutes before this started, and I haven't gotten it to work yet. So I do have a fully configured environment in my back pocket that we can switch over to, but we'll see. The last time that I attempted this, I had a problem pushing to the registry for some reason, and I don't know why. But auto DevOps is magical. It's really nice. Okay, we've built, and we're pushing now to the, all right, I had this problem earlier today. I do not know what it is. If we look at the raw output, it says error parsing, HTTP 404 response body, whatever. There is a GitLab issue for this. But it was a very easy change where Stan said, oh, your external URL and your registry external URL are the same. But I'm not doing a lot of this, so I really don't know what has what is causing this right now. So all that being said, believe me when occasionally this works. And I'm going to switch over to my working configuration that's in my back pocket. So stand by. I have another GTK directory, Minikube. Stop this. Stop this Minikube demo here. And start the one that's called GTK Minikube. So I've taken to naming my Minikube instances the same as my GTK directories, just to make sure that if I'm testing something weird, that I can get to that. So GTK run here. Now that this is this is starting up, we can take advantage of multiprocessing. I'm sure there's a way to turn off some of this extra stuff that's going on in the background, but never looked at that. So what we're going to see here is a Minikube that has that's able to do auto DevOps. We'll watch that, and it's also got Elasticsearch, FileBeat, Kibana installed in it, all local, no Google Cloud Engine involved, just the standard Helm charts and a few iterations between Adrien and I to get it working right. And if the dark angel of demos is not on me today, this will work. I tried this morning and it did actually, I was able to pull it up and work and have it work. So let's see. Sign in again because so now in this system I have this same project imported twice. I've got this Rails NodeDB and this called, another NodeDB loaded here. If we go to the NodeDB, Kubernetes dashboard just pulled up, and so this thing, all namespaces, pods, there's a lot of pods here. Elasticsearch things are still cranking up, but they're going to be okay. Now, if I look at my CI/CD pipelines, among all the failures, there are plenty of pasts. So let's just run this pipeline and cross our fingers. So build is running. Kubernetes over here has gotten green on us. That's good. Refill a coffee. So while this runner's going, I've added, let's see, that's not it. This is it. Oh, yes, so it's not green yet. It's still got one. Terminated error. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Really? Still running over there. So let's attempt a reinstall. If you change something before you do a demo, it will be the thing that's broken. Thanks. I don't know if that's going to the right place. Okay, things are happening over here. Pushing to the container registry. So again, my local container registry. Job succeeded. Rock on. This upgrade didn't seem to be being nice to me. Okay, so now we have our production deployment going on. So if we look at our Kubernetes dashboard and the pods that are happening here, instead of all namespaces, this is B. So this one's been running for 2 days, but when this thing, oh, maybe it's the same image, since I just recompiled it. So now, this guy said, if you want to run your app, go to this IP address. This seldom works the first time. Oh, well, look at there. So this is our test app. The awesome user interface for that. And let's go back and see. So this Elasticsearch thing is not working yet. See what my upgrade script is attempting to do here. Oh, it's looking in the wrong place for the keys. The secret's saying I need to tell it to put these things in .helm. And this is something that Adrien and I need to document and make it so that if you want to pretend that the thing really, so get secret skin, upgrade. Let's try an upgrade to see if there we go. So this upgraded the Elasticsearch stuff over here. That did not seem to help our Elasticsearch feller here. So I'm going to delete that and add it back. All right. So Elastic Stack is all going away. We look at should be. So if we control get pods. So there's one thing that's still terminating. Why is it showing? Oh yeah, okay. So this is the terminating guy. So we have to wait till that thing terminates before we can start them all back again. While all that's happening, we did get this thing deployed to our cluster. And I can go to the other project. And check his pipelines and run this other thing. I don't know why that's blocked. The last time I ran this, I was, oh no, this is a, looks like we might be done here. Yes. So I can install the Elastic Stack stuff again. Now, those things are firing up. This thing's running, and there will be a Kibana at some point. There will also be a Grafana at some point. So I have a dashboard over here. This Grafana is running inside the Kubernetes cluster. Oh, there it is. As you might expect, there's some problem with this. There's an edit capability somehow. Edit. Oh, yeah. So if I want to look for oh, yeah. I can look at Prometheus. Request total. So there's some requests that I did earlier today. So we see the graph here is showing me my Rails NodeDB production and my another NodeDB production namespaces, and then the total there. So if I show the total, it shows, and then look at NodeDB staging and production. This this total, I think, I'm not really sure why it's not exactly the total for this right here, but look at the last 30 minutes. It'd be a lot easier to tell what's going on. So Kibana, have you? Okay, we have Kibana now. So with Kibana, let's see, have file beat. Really? There's some index patterns we can look at. Oh yes, I've got this. What's today? The 4th. I'm not seeing the 4th here. So my Kibana must not be, my Elasticsearch must not be working. But so I wish the demo of starting at the beginning and going all the way to the end of doing auto DevOps worked today, but it some registry thing that I need to diagnose, but you can run it, and I know Kirsty has it going as well. So it may be some update that we just got, or some misstep that I made during these instructions. So so I really want to take this project and extract out these steps and the few Minikube assets that I have added out here, this local open SSL and some of the ingresses, and build that into okay, this is from a monitoring standpoint. If you need to be able to do locally Prometheus and logs from Elasticsearch, then you can run through these steps and get it going. It would be really nice to have this thing vetted by somebody that knows a little more about the registry and the way GitLab interacts with that, and the way Kubernetes interacts with it, to maybe put it even into a GTK enable monitoring command or something. But it's the genesis of this was when I set up a GTK tunnel cluster. The pushing time from the registry or to my local registry was painfully long. So it's with this configuration is the pushing of images in and out of the registry is a lot faster, and we can one other thing. So and the other reason I came up with this Rails project is because I wanted to be able to get metrics from this project instead of just getting metrics from the Kubernetes cluster. And I needed to have this chart directory that had some annotations in it for Prometheus to be able to auto discover the service discovery. So Prometheus could use a service discovery on the Kubernetes cluster to find the things that it needs to monitor. So there was nothing that I configured in Prometheus to say, oh, Prometheus, here's your scrape file. He knows to that when he sees this scrape configuration, the port and the path, how to get the metrics for an application, because this application has an endpoint called metrics that has the Kubernetes metrics. I think that's about it, folks. Questions? questions, I'll relinquish control to the channel.
Thanks, David. I'm going to take over for my demo. So I have a pretty short demo. I've been basically taking the chart values and stuff that David has been working on and integrating them into the cluster admin UI. So I have a very short demo to show that. There you go. So this is the cluster admin. What I've basically done is add this hey dog, this item here to be able to set up the Elastic Stack. And so what it will do is, sorry about the dog. My partner just came home. So it will install the Elastic Stack, so Elasticsearch, Kibana into your cluster. So when you do install here, it's gonna create a container that will go to Helm and do Helm install Elastic Stack. So the Elastic Stack is a chart that contains every Elastic app, so Elasticsearch, Kibana, Fluentbit, and a lot of them. So we're customizing that and taking only Elasticsearch, Kibana, and Fluentbit to do the log management. So you can see here, we created the same things as it did for David. And I should have a Kibana running here soon. So Kibana takes a couple minutes to load. We can look at the logs here. This one. So it's going to take a couple minutes. Basically waiting for Elasticsearch to boot. There you go, we should have Kibana. And now we have to wait for Fluentbit to send some data. It's going to take a couple seconds. And we have to create the configuration. That's pretty quick. And we should be able to see some logs. There you go. There's some logs messages. So they're augmented with all the Kubernetes metadata. You can see logs from GitLab managed apps. You can also see logs from more namespaces, the system. You can also see logs from your apps if you deploy them with this. And then just tear it down. Just have to click uninstall. This will delete all the data from Elasticsearch. It's going to create a container to uninstall that will delete the Helm release and then delete all the data volumes. And yeah, that should be it. Where it's hanging now, but should be done. So yeah, that's for my demo. Any questions? If not, then I think Olena is next.
Hey guys. Can you see my screen? Can you hear me?
Yes. And here
Okay. And see my screen. Okay, guys. I had a spike about the generic data sources, and you probably remember the functionality when user can embed Grafana chart into the issue comment, and he would put like /Grafana and paste the link to the Grafana chart, and it would magically unfurl into the chart. So the idea behind this spike was that there are many data sources out there that users probably would like to use and to run the charts from them. But the problem with those data sources is that they provide data in different formats, and actually to render our chart, we need to unify somehow this data to some unified format. So I investigated like 10 different systems, and 9 out of them can have APIs that can provide data in JSON format. And so what would we do? Like the user will have to save a template for formatting their data. He would paste a link to the sample data source, and we request the sample data, and then user probably will have, just a second. No, it's not here. Oh. And actually I have these transformation rules like ready, because it would take like 15 minutes if you have some developer experience with writing at least some developer experience. And these rules, and I rely on some libraries that is called awesome JSON to JSON that actually converts user JSON to our JSON. And we click and data is transformed and something is rendered. It's not as beautiful if we select, like if we allow user to customize chart, for instance, select like category type for data, it will render almost like in Prometheus. And he can do something else, I don't know, some weird stuff, for instance. Oh, you've seen already that. So I also had a demo for InfluxDB, but they promised to charge me like $200, so I dropped the subscription. So I don't want to take any more of your time. If you have any questions, just write me. Is that it? And I think we are done.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone.